Sometimes to understand something huge and universal about all of us, you don't look at the crowd. Nope. Sometimes you have to zoom way, way in. You have to focus this powerful mental magnifying glass on a single extraordinary story. Because the deep dive into just one person's life, well, it can, and it has, completely changed how we understand what it means to be human.
Just think about that for a second. Really imagine it. You wake up, you eat breakfast, you meet somebody totally new, and by lunchtime, poof, it's all gone. Every new thing you experience, every new person you meet, it just vanishes from your mind, almost as fast as it happens. You're just stuck, permanently stuck in the present moment. Well, for one man, this wasn't some thought experiment. His name was Henry Molaison, though for decades he was known only as HM in scientific journals. And for him, this was real life. His unique and, tragic condition would end up becoming one of the most important stories in the entire history of neuroscience. So to really get how this all happened, we need to go back to the beginning. His is a story that starts with a personal tragedy but ends up becoming this incredible, unbelievable gift to science. See, from the time he was about 10 years old, Henry was dealing with just awful epilepsy. By the time he was 27, back in 1953, the seizures were so bad, so life-ruining, that he agreed to this radical, pretty experimental brain surgery. The surgeon went in and removed parts of his temporal lobes, including this little seahorse-shaped structure called the hippocampus. Now, medically, the surgery worked. It stopped the seizures, but the price was astronomical. Henry was left completely unable to form any new long-term memories for the rest of his life. And that journey would lead him to participate in research for over 50 years. In the scale of this memory loss, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. The most basic parts of a day were just wiped clean. He would meet the very same researchers again and again and again for 5 decades. And for him, every single time was the first time. It's devastating. But this very condition opened up a window into the human mind like nothing ever had before.
So how in the world do you study just one person to learn something so massive? Well, you use a very specific tool from the research toolbox, a method that's designed for exactly this kind of deep, focused investigation. And that method is called a case study. The best way to think of it is as the ultimate deep dive. So instead of just scratching the surface with thousands of people, a researcher goes all in. They commit to this intensive, often long-term investigation of a single case to dig up every possible detail. In HM, he's probably the most famous case study in all of psychology. And this is where it gets really interesting, because a case doesn't just mean one person with a rare condition. A case could be a whole family or a big social event. It could even be a totally modern problem, like trying to understand the psychology of why someone trolls people online. The method is just incredibly flexible. And getting the data is, well, it's a huge deal. Researchers aren't just asking a few questions. They're doing these incredibly deep interviews. They're digging through old medical files and school reports. They're literally just observing behavior. And they're doing psychological tests, often for years and years. It's a really painstaking process, all designed to get the most complete picture possible. Okay, so what is the payoff? After all that intense focus and hard work, what can studying just one person really teach the rest of us about, well, everyone? The answer is, sometimes, everything. Here it is, the big one. Because Henry Molaison could not form new long-term memories after his hippocampus was removed, scientists had their smoking gun. It was the first solid, crucial evidence that this specific part of the brain is absolutely essential for that process. One man's personal story solved a fundamental puzzle of the human mind. Just incredible. And the story of HM isn't some fluke. Sigmund Freud, he built his revolutionary theories of personality by doing deep dives on his individual patients. Our first real clues about how kids learn to talk came from researchers who kept these super detailed diaries on their own children. I mean, the case study method has given us insights into everything from child prodigies to bizarre and rare neurological disorders.
But like any tool, the case study is not perfect, not by a long shot. Its greatest strength, that incredible depth, also comes with a really significant trade-off.
Let's just lay it all out. The big advantage is the pure richness of the data. You get a snapshot of real life that you just can't get any other way, and it lets us study these super rare situations like HMs. But, and this is a big but, the main limitation is you can't generalize the findings. Just because HM's brain worked a certain way, we can't automatically say everyone's does. It's also possible for researchers to kind of see what they want to see, and you can't prove a direct cause and effect relationship like you can with a controlled experiment. So, with all those limitations, why do we still do it? What makes studying the one so uniquely valuable that we keep coming back to it? It really just boils down to this. There are some things you can only, and I mean only, learn by looking incredibly closely. A case study gives us that first crucial foothold. It's that first vivid, real-life picture that sparks a brand new idea or challenges an old one. It basically points the flashlight for all the bigger studies that come later. Without that deep dive on the one, we might never even know what questions we should be asking about the many. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? The story of Henry Mollison, it started with this personal tragedy way back in 1953. It took decades of patient, careful study to unlock all the lessons hidden inside his experience. So the question I want to leave you with is, whose story, happening right now out there in the world, holds the key to the next great scientific discovery?